Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask Pastor Keith. Hi, Pastor Keith.
Hi,
How are you doing this week?
doing all right. Good.
So, we have an interesting question that came in. It's a question about one of Jesus' moments in the Gospels where he's doing ministry. And this question was specifically about when he's casting out the demons, they ask to go to the pigs. I don't know if you remember that part. But the question is kind of asking, why did the demons ask to go to the pigs? Why did Jesus do that? And what does it all mean? I was wondering
Right.
if you could help explain it.
That's an interesting question. And by the way, that story is in all synoptic gospels. Three gospels carry that story. It's a rather important story. However, the point of the story is not about pigs, demons. The point of the story is actually twofold, very important. And after that, about why did the demons ask to go into pigs? Short answer, no, we don't know. But I have my own thoughts. I'm going to share that after I point out the main point of the story. The Bible is about the story of salvation, and everything is focused in that. God's love for people through his son, Jesus Christ, to be saved. There are a lot of minor details that Bible does not focus on, such as when was Satan created or how did he fall. We can surmise from Isaiah and Ezekiel passage, but we don't know the details about these things. But the point of the story is that Jesus has authority to send the demons wherever he wished. So the demon says, don't send us to abyss, which God had done with more wicked demons before. And in Revelation, he says they'll be released for a moment in God's timing. So the demons are aware of that, and they asked, can we go into the pigs? And Jesus, in his own wisdom, he permitted that. So he has authority over these demons, and that's one of the points of this story. And the other one, more important, is that the demons, the legions is called, so there are many of them, entered into pigs, and they just went down the hill and they drowned in the Sea of Galilee. It kind of shows how these demons are bent on destroying life and possession. And so the more important story is that God somehow saved this man, even though he suffered greatly under this influence of demons. And God preserved his life until he met Jesus to be delivered. And God's mercy toward him, his election of him. And that's very important part of the story. Because demons left alone, it'll completely destroy that person. Bible says, Jesus said this, John 10:10, the thieves come and to kill and steal and destroy. He's talking about demonics. But he came, on the comparison, he came to give life and life abundantly. So the demons show their color. This is left alone, this is what they will do. I know there are some school of thoughts that are saying Jesus was displeased with these pigs, unclean animals, and therefore he just let them destroyed. That is not consistent with the character of Jesus. In fact, this is a Gentile region. The dietary law of the Jews did not apply to them. And Jesus will not destroy somebody else's property for his own righteousness. We know his character. And also, he said, what goes into your stomach does not defile you. He declared all food to be clean in his own ministry. So that is inconsistent with what the scripture is talking about. So that school of thoughts does not explain why Jesus permitted these pigs to be destroyed. So here's my thought, okay? You cannot be dogmatic about this because Scripture does not explain this or that way. that does not mean it's not important, or if it's not, why is it found on all three synoptic gospels? So it is an important story, and this detail is preserved in all the gospel accounts. So number one is this: the angels have this hierarchical system. We know archangels and the regular angels, warrior angels and whatnot. We know seraphims and the cherubims, and there are different kind of angels and all that. When the demons are fallen angels, and when they fell, they have the same structure, hierarchical structure, in that Satan is on top. He was one of the archangels. And the demons have this structure, and we know that by archaeology in Ephesus and Colossae, and Paul talks about this, Colossians and the Ephesians. He talks about dominions and kingdoms and authorities and all those things. And those things are not just describing those regular use of the word, but those are the titles of demonic structure. And we know that by archaeology, that's how it's been used. So we know there are different levels of demons, and they have authorities and so forth and so forth. Such as Prince of Persia, this demon, the fallen angel demon, has somehow influence over geopolitical area of Persia, Persian kingdom. And as a Michael, Archangel Michael also had, he was an angel a champion for God's people, the covenant people. And so we know there are different functions and different hierarchies and all that. Once again, Bible doesn't care to elaborate more than that, because that's not the main focus of the Bible. However, we know there's differences in all this, and we know in the Jesus talks about this. When a demon was cast out of the person, he go through waterless places and seeking to find rest, but couldn't. So he comes back to that person and find that person is, it's like a house, metaphor of a house, all cleaned up and nice. So he brings 7 worse demons in there. So the latter was worse than the first. He explains these kind of things in that way. So we know somehow, by the way, there's like NASB 95 is an unfortunate translation. It says he was possessed by demon. Bible does not use that language. It talks about diamotomai, demonized, or erkon, daimon, means having the demon. Is a person is having the demon, not demons having that person. Very important concept. So it was a unfortunate translation. But Bible always talk about this person having the unclean spirit, or he was demonized, influenced by demon in different degrees of influence, but never is possessed by it or owned by it. That's not the case. So we know this person was demonized, and the influence of demon was so strong it overrode his own will. So he ended up living among the tombs. He was naked, and he was, in other parts it says he's gashing himself and so forth and so forth. Now this miserable existence, demons had their way on him. That's pretty strong demon. And this person, by whatever his habit or sin or whatever vulnerability he had, let the demons have that much of control over his life, right? So it's a very strong. And then we know, once again, this is my opinion and all that. Dr. Christy Wilson was a professor of missiology in Gordon Conwell, but he was a missionary in Afghanistan. His parents were missionary in Persia before Iran. So he explains about his ministry often disturbed by the animals that's demonized and all that. So we know that the most preferable influence or habitation of demons are a person and having a greater influence. But, some cases less influence. And when that is not happening, and there were second or the choice or whatnot is that they were in animals and some, and then there's a third, and I believe this because John Wesley, the founder of Methodism and the Wesleyan holiness movement and all that, also believed in ghost. Ghost is not disembodied spirit, but ghost is also demon that the host has passed away and couldn't attach itself to the descendant of that host, becoming a familiar spirit. He couldn't, or into an animal. So he occupies a space. Maybe this is what Jesus meant by a demon going through waterless places and couldn't find rest, and he came back to the host. Now, we don't know that, and there's nothing that explains more than that in the scripture. But we know there are places that's influenced by demonic presence. This is a place. This is not living organism. It's not a person. It's not animal, but it is a space, right? And I suspect that it is the lowest kind of a demonic influence, or the weaker ones. Who knows? Like Faith Baptist Community Church in Singapore used to be led by Pastor Lawrence Kong, and the big church, 50,000 members and whatnot, they had a policy: if a person becomes a believer from Hindu background or a Buddhist background and whatnot, one of the things was they went to their house and visit their house and destroyed the altar. Because oftentimes those people do not make any progress in faith. They go back and forth and fall away and all that. And so they believe in this kind of some kind of a concentration of demonic influence in physical places. So we know there's a grades of influence of the demons, the fallen angels, and their preference is a human being, of course. But when that is not done, and they ask for another living being and in order to destroy. So Jesus, according to his wisdom, he did not send them to abyss directly, but he gave them permission so that they can go into the pigs. And but the pigs, as soon as they had the influence over the pigs, they made them be destroyed on their own. So that kind of shows what kind of assignments they have, what kind of bent they have, is to kill and steal and destroy. And it shows his character is, if you want to call that personality.
Like revealing the nature.
Yeah, revealing the nature. And that was given. And to me, I understand the story in such a way that should have been the fate of this person who was, for the lack of a better term, indwelled by so many demons, that he should have died.
Like the pigs did.
Like the pigs did. This is an object lesson, so to speak. And yet, out of God's grace and the predestination, if you want to call that, election, he was preserved. Even in that miserable state, he was preserved in order to meet Jesus and to be delivered. And he becomes a follower of Christ. And in fact, Jesus commissions him so that he can preach what God has done in his life to his relatives and friends. And so this is an incredible story. It talks about the heart of God, and it reveals something about demons and their nature. So in that way, we learn from this story.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Keith. I think the fact that it's in all the Synoptic Gospels,
Right.
And I think the way that you structured it, like looking at it through the unifying theme of Scripture, which is salvation, we can learn that Christ has full authority over demons, and demons are naturally bent towards destruction, and that's what we should take away.
Right,
This
and,
text,
and the
yeah.
God, out of His mercy, saved this man,
Yeah,
and who became, you want to call that missionary in the Gentile area. Yeah,
Yeah, what an incredible story.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insight, Pastor Keith, and thank you guys for joining us this week. We hope, this helps grow an excitement and insight into not just Christ's ministry, but his character. And we encourage you to tune in every single week for another episode of Ask PK. Thank you.